Welcome to the Reschool'd podcast, the show that discusses all the things that schools may have missed, with your hosts AJ Kuti and Jason Gordon.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. We are the Reschool'd podcast, the show that discusses all the things that schools may not have prepared you for. As always, I am AJ, and sitting across me, Jason. How you feeling today?
Feeling much better.
Good.
Like last week when we recorded last episode, I don't know what order we're going to post these things, but I was just getting over the COVID.
Yeah.
I didn't have a tough case or anything like that, so I felt pretty good. But I'm 100% now,
Good.
ready to continue on as if nothing happened.
Good. That's good to
What
hear.
about you?
I'm just trying to sweat through school still.
About to say, how's that going?
It's going. It's a shorter semester. It's abbreviated semester in the summer, and that doesn't mean that they're going to abbreviate any of the work that they expect us to do. So but it's not bad. I'm still learning, getting closer and closer each day, to being finished. And that's just kind of the thing that keeps propelling me. I actually have on my notes to do, like I have an app that I use that keeps up with all my checklists of the things I have to do for each week and everything. And at the very top is like a countdown clock of when I'm actually done with coursework.
Well,
I can't wait for
that's
that.
good, AJ, because if it were somehow going in reverse,
that would be bad.
You weren't. You just said I'm learning stuff and I'm getting closer to graduation. If either of those weren't true, then I would recommend stopping.
Yeah, you're right. You are 100% right. They keep punting that line down. I couldn't do that. That's the only thing that's helping me. Well, today's episode, we are doing a tips and tricks episode. So we're going to go back to that. And I love these tips and tricks. I think a lot of listeners do as well. But we're going to be talking about health, and more specifically, probably health on campus as a college student, because that's actually one of the things I think that is maybe forgotten for some.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. What do you think?
I think I've been wanting to talk about this one for a while. I think it's one of the most important things coming into college, or once you're there, even making it all the way through. I mean, it's 3, 4, 5 years of your life. So before we jump into it, though, let me remind everybody, visit Reschool'd.com. That's Reschool'd with a D, not an ED. Check us out on the social media profiles as well. A lot of stuff going on there. And on your favorite podcasting app, right? We got to get those stars from you so other people will know about us. They'll start listening to us. Or if you're really a super fan, just, all 2 or 3 of you out there, tell everybody you know about how awesome we are. Say we are the handsomest people
that you've ever heard on the radio.
Yeah, you've ever heard on the radio. Or via podcast. If probably anybody you're talking to doesn't listen to the radio anymore.
Yeah,
so.
Probably not.
Anyway, so that's our claim to fame, right? So anyway, that being said, yep, look us up, give us those ratings, and yeah.
So quick question dealing with health. Did you ever think of your health as a priority when you were in your undergrad years?
I did early on.
Did you?
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that before. Like you were pretty structured in your scheduling for your health, your physical health. Yeah.
So, it was a combination. It wasn't just physical. Like physical started out, but mental health too. Like I can say this: when I got to college, I wasn't academically prepared fully for a number of reasons. The biggest thing, I guess, was that I had learned how to study, but a lot of things I needed to know to do what I was going to do, I felt like I was woefully unprepared, and that caused a lot of stress. I tend to be a worrier, so there was a lot of mental health aspects there too, right? We can get into it, and I can tell you the story. But yeah, so bottom line, for the quick answer to a quick question, I was pretty constantly concerned about physical health and later on, in that first year, mental health as well, because it was starting to weigh on me pretty hard. What about you? Was it ever an issue for you?
I don't say it was sadly. And if you've seen the picture of me, you'd understand. It was never a big priority of mine, physical or mental. The mental side, obviously, with dealing with ADHD, there was always an aspect of that, trying to figure out how to handle it, how to cope with it. And through medicine and through some other things too, understand what deficiencies came with that, and then what things that were really like, the thing with ADHD is, I always find it interesting because they talk about it as a deficiency, it's just attention deficiency disorder, and it's really not that it's a deficiency. It's just we have an inability to really regulate it. Mm-hmm. And because there are times where I can get hyper focused on something, like I would go 8 hours working on something because I got so hyper focused on it, and I wouldn't be able to put it down until I'm finished. But then there was other times where I just could not get the attention on it. And I'm even suffering with that right now because I got to write a paper, and I've been putting it off for 2 days because I can't find the motivation, the attention to stick with it, because I find everything else in the world to get my attention. Physical health wise, especially in the earlier part of my undergrad, it was more or less non-existent. I mean,
that's a commonality, by the way.
Well,
right?
And like many students, I had some intake of vegetables that just so happened to be, barley and they were brewed, and and I'm pretty sure there were some grapes. So I had fruits there too that was fermented. So I had my vegetables through liquid, but it was not high on my list. I was your typical freshman kid coming in, wanted to live it up, also live with my parents. But I never had any issues like what I could do. That I didn't have any, I didn't have a curfew or any restrictions or anything like that. But, I wanted to live it up with my friends and, go out to eat. So I did a lot of eating out. I did get into playing soccer for the college team. And obviously when I got into that, then it got a little bit more strict on my health in terms of working out, training, dieting, all those kind of things. But it was never top. And obviously it's one of those things now where I'm a little bit older, I look back and go, you're an idiot. You should have taken that more seriously, because if the big thing I learned is if you would take it seriously in the earlier years, it wouldn't be so hard in the later years.
Sure, there's no change of mentality has to happen, no change of lifestyle.
Exactly.
Right?
And I wish I would have had that. I wish I would have put a little bit more focus into that, at least to get that foundation. Because now in my later years, it's harder to get that foundation. I mean, I remember pre-COVID and me going to me getting this program when I had more time, I would go to the gym 3 times a week, but it would be like that was me building the foundation, and it was rough. So
yeah. I mean, a lifestyle change where you have to constantly think about this, and people can say what they will, your body does change, right? Yeah. You don't have the natural level of metabolism, and there is research to show that your metabolism doesn't materially slow down till you're 40 or after, but the amount of activity that you're prone to in a day certainly does change based upon your life responsibilities, whether that's family or work or school or whatever it is. And eating habits are one of the most difficult things to change.
You ain't never lied.
Right? So your physical activity, when you're a kid, you're just doing things all the time. At least our generation did, right? We were playing in the yard and stuff like that. We didn't have all the video games that they have now and stuff like that. But you could eat more and care less about what you were eating and the health benefits or ramifications of what you were doing. But as that activity level starts to go down because you're sitting on your butt reading and studying and sitting in class and doing projects and working, that type of thing, all of a sudden you have to start making changes. And the place that you see it first is in college.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, so.
And it's also the place where you see the most people not doing it too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. When you're at home, you're going to be you're like high school. You have your high school friends, but you're mostly seeing what your family does. But when you're on college and you're on your own, like you're in this group of people who have so many different mindsets on health and other things too, but health specifically here, that you got people that go out and heavily drink all of their calories for the day. And then you've got people who are very disciplined in what they eat and what they put in their body, and they make sure it's the right stuff, and you've got everything on either end of those spectrums, and kind of who you hang out with is what you see the most impact on you. unless you're just that type of person that's like, this is who I am, and you already knew that, which is going back to the foundation early on.
Mm-hmm. And I can say personally, I was very, very active in high school. I really, really enjoyed sports as a pastime. And you just can't do as much in college. You don't have as much time. If you're playing on one of the varsity teams, obviously that might be a major part of your life. But if you're like most of us who you kind of hang that up in high school and you continue to do intramurals and stuff, but you're really focusing on your studies and stuff, your activity level goes down. That was something I had to account for in my eating and stuff. And that was a real shock to me because the food hall is there, right? The cafeteria, and there's access to really delicious food.
They tend to be
all
unhealthy.
the time. Multiple meals a day, you're kind of shoving it in because it's more delicious than the ham sandwich you would eat for lunch when you were in high school, right? So that type of thing, and it caught up to me. I easily, I was still working out a lot, but I put on 15 pounds.
Did you hit the freshman 15?
Easy, maybe 20.
Oh,
right?
You hit the freshman 20.
And I was still, trying to stay active. I was trying to run almost, 4 or 5 days a week. I was going to the gym, doing weight training and stuff. And luckily I had a roommate who liked to do a lot of that stuff as well. Or a sweet mate, not a roommate. My roommate didn't do much of anything. My sweet mate.
Hopefully he's not listening.
Well, he probably doesn't even remember me. I think he left after the first year of college. But anyway, point being, I guess, is it's a shock. You have to prepare for it. That whole famous freshman 15 is real for a reason.
Yeah.
But people make a joke out of it. But it really is a change, and it is something you have to prepare for, right? You have to prepare for it mentally, and then, of course, the physical aspect of it, you have to account for how you're going to deal with it because it starts to affect the mental portion. It's particularly, I'd say, with women more than men. We just tend to, I guess men just tend to be less concerned about maintaining their physical appearance, where it can be a real shot in the arm for a lot of women.
Yeah.
I don't have any scientific basis on that. It just seems like observation. I hate that. I don't think it's healthy or good. You should be happy with who you are and things like that. But what I more believe is that everybody should think about what can I do to stay healthy so that I'm not taking in bad, types of food, that I'm not getting my vitamins. I'm taking in way excessive calories beyond what I'm burning. Because again, it starts to affect how you see yourself. It affects your confidence level. It affects just overall, your energy level and what you want to get into, right? Type scenario. And that gets into the more troubling portion, the mental portion.
Well, that's a perfect segue to the next one, because let's get into the tips and tricks. And we actually split this up into tips for physical health and tips for mental health. And so let's start with the first one, which is the tips for physical health. Let's give a few tips. We'll kind of go back and forth on tips that students can use to better their physical health while they're in college.
I would say you got to start with structure. You've got to create a routine for yourself. Whatever routine you had for keeping yourself physically active in high school, the fact that you walked to school or the fact that you maybe did some form of exercise or something like that, whatever your schedule is, make that a priority the way you make other things a priority. Set aside times to go for a walk, go for a run, right? I don't know, whatever you do. Throw frisbee, throw a ball around, go to the gym if that's your thing, right? Do the stair stepper or treadmill or elliptical or whatever it is you do, right? That type of thing. Structure it in, make it a priority. That's tip number one.
Mine would be take advantages of the resources that the school gives you. Because obviously you mentioned it, they have a gym. That's the obvious thing. But a lot of times they have, I know my undergrad, and I've said this on a previous show, I think it was one of our earlier shows, but we had classes. So you can have like a spinning class, or you can have a kickboxing class, or there's a lot of classes that they offered within the gym, within the fitness center. And those are really good because, if you're not somebody that knows a lot about what you're doing or how to do it in a meaningful way, then having somebody there to go through this with you as the leader of the class is going to help you a lot. You don't do like I did and go to Pilates trying to impress the instructor and end up passing out in the after the warm up. That was stupid.
Oh, that's a story.
I thought I said that when I thought I may have not, but there was a girl that I was super interested in. She was the leader of the Pilates class, and I thought, you know what? I played soccer, so I got to be in decent shape. I didn't have a clue what Pilates was, and if you don't know what Pilates was, it's like yoga on crack. It's fast paced and it's not for the faint of heart. And I thought, you know what, I could go do this. And she's sitting there and she's doing her whole thing. And as she's doing it, she's talking like normal, like just do this and this. And I'm dying in the background. I'm in the back of the class, sweating, trying to breathe. And we get finished and I flip over on my back trying to catch my breath. And she goes, okay, well, that was the warm up. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die. And
you were a soccer goalie. You should have been able to do that.
You just said the key. I was the goalie. I stood in one place.
But all that flexibility and stretching stuff, isn't that what y'all do?
Yeah, but
at least
the
that's what our
cardio,
goalies always did.
The cardio was not part of it. I mean, I thought I was going to die. And then, of course, she laughed, and I never talked to her again. Because it was just...
Embarrassment factor.
It was definitely embarrassing. I was just like, this is not going to work. So, but yeah, take advantage of the resources. I mean, that's probably a good tip for somebody who's not well-versed in the gym itself. But also, you have the gym as the resource.
Yeah. My tip number 2, all right, so we got structure, take advantage of the resources. Find someone else.
That's a good
one. Who
one.
is going to do something similar.
Yep.
Get on a coordinated schedule. They will hold you to it, right? Or feet to the fire or whatever you want to call it. They will make certain to provide some level of motivation or, some level of enthusiasm behind doing it. You enjoy it more. And if you enjoy it more, you'll want to continue doing it even for yourself. Right? I've often realized that when I start a new exercise routine, once I get into it, I really, really enjoy it.
Yep.
Right? But starting off, it was tough. So if nothing else, find somebody else to support you in the journey. All right. That'll help a great deal.
Yeah. Accountability partners are really good. My second one, I'm going to kind of go away from the working out side of it. I'm looking at the food. Understand food. I think that was one of the things that I didn't know when I was in the undergrad. Like when I first started undergrad, is I didn't understand the food, and the intakes of food and the carbs and starches. And I mean, I understand, okay, you're supposed to have vegetables, you're supposed to have protein, all that kind of stuff, but I didn't really know the intricacies of it. I didn't take the time to understand it and like what's healthy, what's not. I didn't care about this stuff. I was a carb freak. I loved my carbs and my starches and potatoes and rice and pasta and all that kind of stuff. And understand it with the context of your body. Not everybody has the same metabolism. Not everybody has the same things that their body breaks down in the same way. And with that understanding, you can go in these places. You were talking about the mess hall, the cafeteria. Mm-hmm. You can go in these places and understand, I have access to all this, but doesn't necessarily mean I need to eat it. And I dang sure don't need to try to eat it all. That would be my big one, because that's something that I really, really struggled with.
And I want to say something on that. Colleges have gotten a lot better of helping you understand nutrition, putting the nutritional value of stuff on there. But there's really 2 things you can look at there. It's not healthy to have massive weight gain, right? We know that. So that's going to be a pure calorie thing. You can eat actually pretty healthy food. If you eat far in excess of what you burn in terms of calories, you're going to put on weight, and that alone is not healthy.
Yeah.
Okay? For most people, right? Moderate weight gain is not a big deal, but extreme weight gain, like 15 or 20 pounds in a year, you're putting on more than a pound of weight on your body a month, or more than that, really, almost 2, because it's not a 12-month year for the semesters.
Yeah.
So anyway, just keeping that in mind, that, but then there's the healthiness of the food you're taking in. Excessive sugars can, cause mood swings, right? Because, your blood sugar gets up and gets down, right? Incremental fasting, you think you've eaten too much at one meal, so you fast for a long time, causes blood sugar drops, which once again affects personality and mentality. So just having all the balances in place to understand that, you do need some form of the pyramid. You do need some grains, some starches, some proteins, and maybe some sugars, right? A limited amount of sugars type thing. And if you just do that on a balanced schedule, so you don't let your system get out of whack, right? Just figuring those things out and sticking to it changes your whole outlook, your whole focus, your whole mentality, everything. And if you know you're going to go out and drink, plan for that.
Yeah.
Right? Plan for that activity. Understand that it's going to be something you're doing that's very not healthy for your body. And so detox afterwards, right? Eat healthy the next day. Make certain to go for long walk, right? The way you rehydrate your body is, people say drink a lot of water, but when you study biology, you'll realize that, you actually rehydrate or get oxygen back in your body by the water in your body breaking down and oxygenating your muscles that way. So getting out there and making yourself breathe hard by a hard walk or a jog or something like that is the best way to, rehydrate.
So you're saying when you're drunk, you should go for a run?
I wouldn't do it right then, right? You still need your liver to get those liposomes to go to work and clean out the alcohol. But afterwards, when you have a hangover, type thing, just like when you have sore muscles, right? Sure. You have that lactic acid build up and stuff. The only real way to reoxygenate it well is to drink a lot of water, and then the water breaks down. You actually, it's kind of funny. Your body's really funny. It uses the oxygen you breathe in to break down water, and the oxygen that you pull off of the water molecules is actually what generally rehydrates your muscles.
Doesn't seem very efficient, but okay.
Not very efficient, right? But that is the way it works. So you want to beat a hangover, drink lots of water, and then do a little exercise. It'll get you over it fast. But same way for everything. Just learning something about the body, taking care of it, it'll keep you mentally stronger.
Yeah, and to just one last piggyback off of that, because since we're still in the food, then I think we're gonna go into the mental side of it. But keep costs in mind. Understand. I think that's why a lot of people end up going to fast food restaurants, because it's just cheaper and more convenient. Especially if you're gonna go and try to get like organic stuff, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive. So keep that in mind. There's ways to go around that as well. There's still ways to eat healthy, non-processed food on a budget. It takes a little bit more preparation. It takes a little bit more time to prepare and research what's out there. But it's a good way to still maintain that physical health side of it and still not break the bank.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
All right, tips and tricks for mental health. I'm interested in this because, again, this is one that I had to naturally deal with, so I'm interested to hear your perspective on it. So what's your first tip?
Having someone to confide in or to talk to. That's number one.
That's a good one.
There is going to be innumerable reasons that you have mental health concerns. Okay. And some of them seem minor, and some of them seem major, right? I mean, it runs the gamut. So we can talk about some of the stressors that happen in college just as much as anything, so you can be a good support system for somebody else, right? But that being said, having people you can talk to and confiding in, and that will help as much as anything. Just telling your problems, just having somebody that'll listen.
That is a good one. Yeah, having that. And it's, I think you put two together because that was your first tip for physical too, or one of your tips for physical is having that partner. And when you can have an accountability partner, but also have somebody that you can confide in with the mental side of it, that's really, really helpful.
Absolutely.
My first one would be when you're dealing with mental health, and especially when you're dealing with various kinds, and I can only speak on behalf of what I'm experienced in. I'm not experienced in all of them, and I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, so I don't know the each of them in depth. But challenging yourself has always been one that has been, to me, if I can challenge myself in something, my mental capacity, if I can challenge my mental capacity in something, it tends to keep me more focused. One of the things that I always found very interesting is the semesters that I had the highest GPA in was the semesters I actually played soccer. So it was my most, it was my busiest semester, because not only did I have my classes that I had to take, but I also was practicing, and we had games that we had to go to and all this kind of stuff. So it was a very busy part of the semester, but I think it was the challenge of getting all of that together and really focusing in on that allowed me to do better. I think most people would say too, and I think you would agree, that when you are physically stimulated, your mental stimulation is also going to be right behind it. So you're gonna end up thinking clearer. So anytime you're dealing with anything, if you can figure out a way to challenge yourself, that's why I was such a big fan when you said find somebody to work out with, because when you have somebody to work out with, and if you're friends with that person, so it's not a stranger, it's somebody that you're close to, you can have this almost competitive side to it. Like who's going to do this or who's going to do it faster, and they're going to make you work harder. I think the mental side is going to do the same thing. Having somebody that you can almost gamify something, whatever you're working at, is going to help you with your mental health. It's going to add an extra element that's going to keep you a little bit more focused. So I think that would be my first tip.
That's a good one. I know I said this same thing for the physical routine. You need structure. You just hit on something that people need purpose.
Mm-hmm.
One reason that you start to feel empty is because you don't know where you're going or what you're doing. Purpose is a very broad term, and everybody derives purpose in what they're doing from a number of things. And people put additional pressures on themselves. The external environment puts pressure on them. All sorts of things. So people's idea of sense of purpose and accomplishment and all those things get intertwined in there. I suffered from that really badly. I actually still do at points, right? But the busier you keep yourself, meaning the more structure that you, and I don't mean you got 10 things going on so things are hectic. I mean that you have things lined up. You know you need to study for this amount of time, and after that you're going to go to work for this amount of time, and after that you've set aside time for the gym, and after that you need to, you're just going to chill out for a little while before going to bed, because you have to get up at 8:30 again in the morning to do this and that. To the extent you can be structured, it tends to add immediate purpose. Now, I'm not talking about greater self-worth and all of those things, but it all ties together. Keeping yourself proactively engaged throughout the day, so you don't feel like you're just sitting around waiting for the next thing to happen, keeps you stronger mentally. There's no question about it. What you just said about the busier you were playing soccer, having class, going home, work, anything like that altogether, all of those things are structural elements that give you purpose. Again, maybe not long-term meeting, but these are things that you need to accomplish during the day. Short-term goals that you can accomplish bring fulfillment, and it brings a sense of accomplishment to larger goals, right? When I talk to my students about career development, I routinely tell them, I say, when you get up through college, particularly high school, but up through college, your life has been kind of planned for you. That you were told what classes to take. You were told that you're going to go to this next grade next year. You were told to do these things, right? You didn't have to figure out as much. But once college is over, life becomes real. You've got a job, or hopefully you've got a job, and you've got to do that. But what's next? What's the bigger purpose? What's the meaning in life? And the short-term stuff becomes routine. You just start going to the job every day. What's next? A lot of people jump straight into, I want to get married. I want to have kids and stuff like that. But even then, like, what happens next? So I encourage people to constantly keep a life plan in front of them. What are the things you want to accomplish in life? What are all of the steps that it would take to get to each of them? And then how do you combine those and say, these are 3 different paths or 5 different paths of things that I want to do in my life, but these are commonalities that all will move me towards those goals. I can do all that at once, right? All this is really one thing. I don't have to spread it out at times, and it'll make certain that I'm elongating the shadow for the future, right? I have paths I can take. I know I'm moving towards something. That sense of purpose will keep you more motivated towards things. So I know I'm dragging on and on here about a single tip. I just wanted to make certain that I'm making myself clear as to what I'm saying. Having structure adds purpose. It really does. So to the extent you can do that, it will help you.
And that was to kind of go back to one of the pieces you said about the need for a life plan. That was episode 12. So if you didn't hear that episode, we did a whole episode on constructing a life plan, which was a great episode. I learned a lot from that one. One of the things and it almost kind of goes back to my first one, but put in a different way. So it's not, so you have the person, your accountability partner. It's kind of a piggyback on that, but different in its own right. But to me, when I'm in school, what helps me mentally is the ability to build a community. So it's not just single. So you have your one person that's cool, and they're your accountability partner. They're the ones that's going to help you through the physical side, the mental side, all these kind of things you're going to keep. But also to have this sense of community where you have a group of students that wants the betterment of that community, and so you're going to help in any way. I've learned that more in this past year of my program that I'm currently in than I have ever, is the importance of community. Because there is a lot of stuff that when you have when you have this group of people who all have the same goal and all want the betterment of you, the individuals within the community, they're going to have your back. And if something comes up and we've had a couple situations where we've had a deadline come up and they were supposed to post something on the internet and we have it, on our course page or whatever, and we haven't seen it, we'll text them and say, hey, don't forget this. We don't want you to miss out on this. And we all go through those times where we have things that are really tough and we may have overlooked something or we may have read a date wrong when it's due. But to have that support system, that helps immensely from obviously a grade perspective, but also just this feeling of it just lifts a weight off your shoulder. Because if you mess up, somebody's there that cares about you enough that they're going to support you and make sure that it's not going to be too detrimental within their ability. And I can tell you, like I said, for my program right now, that is probably the thing that I have valued the most in my program, is how close our cohort is. Now we're cohort, so it makes it a little bit easier to do that. But that closeness, that has driven me. I think that's the reason why I'm doing so well in the program. It's not because of what I'm working harder than anybody, because I know I'm not. It's just this sense of community that we have. Yeah.
You've been cheating.
Yeah, I've been cheating. That's what it was.
Oh no. Wait.
No. No. It is this community that we have. We went over to my professor's house this last residency to eat with him. And so not only do we have the students community, but we also have the faculty in the community. And that right there, that's a whole nother ballgame. That was probably one of my favorite times where I can see the professors outside of the classroom setting and into just a personal setting, and the amount of stress that it relieved from all of us to be able to see them just kind of kick back, cut loose, see who they really are, and actually see that they're the same person outside of class as they are in class was super cool. That was probably one of my favorite things I've done. So I would say from a mental aspect, just because, again, it relieves the stress, it relieves the worry. A lot of times, anxiety creeps up. It really does help that. And to see that your faculty and the other students care about you enough that they want you to succeed in class and in life, I mean, that was worth its weight in gold, by far. So if you can create a sense of community, golly, that's going to help you so much.
I couldn't agree more. And, honestly, I kind of had it built in because I had my brother at college there with me, but it made a ton of difference just to have that structure, that foundation, but a lot of people don't have that. You go to college on your own and you have to construct every bit of it. There's no friend, there's no one else there to be part of that. So it's something to understand, right? It's something you need to do. And it's not just for social entertainment, it's for mental health.
Yeah.
I guess one of my final tips is the school has resources.
Yes.
The school has mental health professionals on staff. That is a common benefit offered at almost every college university now.
Can I add
right?
something to that too?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that may be the most important part, because again, something from somebody who has struggled with ADHD for the better part of my life. I mean, for all my life, but it wasn't diagnosed until I was in high school. That don't be too scared or too proud to go to these resources. I've for some idiotic reason, and I can say this now, when I was in undergrad and grad school, but more so undergrad, when I needed those resources the most, those are probably the times I look back, and those are the times where I thought, you know what, I don't need that because I can do this on my own. I don't want to be labeled as the person who got these benefits because of some disability that they have. I was too proud to go to these things. And looking back, that was the dumbest thing I've ever done, because they're there for a reason, and they understand the reason. So to your point, and I'll let you get back to it, I just want to interject that, because coming from somebody who should have used it and I didn't, that was a stupid mistake on my part.
No, that's the most important thing, honestly, you can say, because we can tell people that they're there. And I see it lots of times with guys, particularly, right? We don't use it. I succumb to the exact same thing. I can count as an adult, I don't know, somewhere 3 or 4 periods in my life where I was having some real struggles.
Yeah.
I mean, they were not insignificant at all, but I never sought help, even when a couple of them were at the brink of ruining my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I was about to abandon things. I was about to give up on things. I was about to take a completely different course in life. And I didn't seek out help. And I did get through it. But honestly, it's based upon a combination of, I have always been one who is willing to talk to other people. So I would talk to anyone who would listen, quite frankly, about my problems, and that helped a ton. But in large part, what I should have been doing is talking to professionals who could have given more insight into what I was feeling or what I was going through, right? And I didn't use those resources because, once again, I didn't want to be labeled as the person who needs to needs to use that, right? Who needs to go see somebody to get through their emotional troubles, right?
Yeah. And I don't think we pointed this out. I kind of alluded to it, but most of the time when we think of disability services in school, it's more of like get extra time on tests, use a recorder, but there are resources outside of that too. You can just go to a counselor that's going to listen to you and work with you. And that's vital too. It's not just simply you're getting these perks and stuff, but there are people there to help you work through some things, and that's kind of what you were talking about.
Absolutely. Right. So mental health resources, there are physical health resources too that go hand in hand.
Sure.
There are study things that relieve stress, right? Because of stress is driven by, pressure, uncertainty, and the consequences tied to inaction and things like that. And sometimes it becomes too much and people just freeze up and they don't do anything. So there are people that can help you there with that, about structuring your college life. There's people that can help you there in terms of how to eat. There's mental health professionals who will listen to your problems. There's all of these resources there that you should use, right? First step is to make yourself aware of where they are, who they are, and then the process for using them, because they're there for you, right? You paid for them.
Yeah, you better use them. Well, that's been a great episode. It's been an interesting one. I'm a big fan of tips and tricks series anyway. But this one I guess maybe this one hit a little bit closer to home because I was more active in one than I was in the other. I was not most active in the physical side, but obviously the mental side I had to deal with. So I was interested to get your perspective on that. But before we head out, you got anything else to say?
Just remind everybody, we are here for you guys. So if you have things you're interested in, topics that we didn't fully cover, that you want to hear more about, we'll revisit them, right? Just let us know that. and we'll put them in the docket, the lineup, and we'll talk about them again, talk about them more.
Absolutely. Well, we hope you all enjoyed it. Until next time, we hope to see you there. Goodbye.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Reschool'd podcast. Be sure to head over to reschool'd.com for news and other information on things we're getting into.